What's up, guys? My name is Ace, and yesterday I took a sick day, so we've got a lot of catching up to do because there's been a lot of talk about supply drops in Modern Warfare. More specifically, there have been some leaks and rumors going around, as well as some talk from the developers. So today, I wanted to cover this situation as well as my thoughts on it. So this whole thing kicked off from the Gaming Revolution, who, if you guys haven't really been paying attention for the past several months, he is a guy that has been leaking a ton of information about Modern Warfare, and almost all of it has turned out to be correct. At this point, there's no doubt in my mind that he does have an inside source at Infinity Ward that is feeding him information, so generally speaking, his leaks definitely have some weight behind them. Having said that, of course, he is not technically an official source, and he will not reveal his source, obviously, because his source would end up being fired. So while I do tend to trust a lot of the information that comes from him, I also don't take every word he posts as gospel. But let's get into the initial leaks from a couple of days ago now. And with this, he tweeted, "Who wants 300 plus emotes in supply drops? Who wants 500 plus titles? Who wants over 200 sprays in supply drops? Weapons are coming too, forget any cosmetic only malarkey." And then he also goes on to say, they're literally changing so much, they had a fair system with salvage, and then they just remove it. I hope something changes by release, I swear. So when it comes to the first part where he's talking about 300 plus emotes, 500 plus titles, 200 sprays and supply drops, honestly, is this stuff really a surprise to anybody? That particular part is exactly what I would expect from a supply drop system. When you have these supply drops, you have to fill them with some useless content, and there's your useless content. And that looks like quite a bit of useless content as well. However, we also don't know what kind of frequency we would be earning these supply drops at. Would it be more like COD World War II, where each supply drop has 3 items and you can earn quite a few of them in a single gaming session? Or is it going to be like Black Ops 4, where you get 1 item that could be a duplicate every hour or so of gameplay time? So when it comes to that first part, really, without knowing the full system, it's not really a surprise to me. Of course, loot boxes will be in Modern Warfare. No matter how much the community might hate these loot boxes, I've said this before and I'll say it again, Activision isn't just going to be the good guy and sacrifice hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue just because there's a very vocal group that speaks out against this. They are a publicly traded company, and it is their fiscal responsibility to make as much money as possible for their shareholders. So until some sort of regulator steps in, supply drops aren't going anywhere in Call of Duty. So that first part honestly doesn't really faze me at all. The second part though, weapons are coming too, and forget any cosmetic only malarkey. Now again, this is something where without seeing what the full system is, this could be absolutely horrible like Black Ops 4's system, or it could be like COD World War II system where the supply drops weren't technically cosmetic only, you could get stat change weapons in there, but on top of that, you had a couple reasonable and direct methods for earning every single gun that was added to the game. Whether that be through the collections, so you could just save up your armory credits and unlock them right away, or through the contract system. Usually about a month after the gun was added, it would show up in a contract, you could get that contract, complete a super easy challenge, and the gun is yours. So again, just looking at that first tweet, without knowing the full system, it's really hard to make a proper judgment on this. Now the second tweet, this is the part that really had me concerned, where he said they're literally changing so much, and they had the fair system with salvage, and they just removed it. This is the part that's really concerning to me, because having a system with that salvage or armory credits or whatever you want to call it, traditionally that's what's been separating the fair supply drop systems of Infinite Warfare, Modern Warfare Remastered, and COD World War II from the unfair systems like Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4. Generally speaking, there hasn't been much backlash at all against the systems that have that salvage or armory credit style system. So if there's no system like that in Modern Warfare, then that's definitely alarming to see. But once again, we don't really have a full picture painted of what the system's going to be, and therefore I do have a hard time being completely outraged over seeing these tweets. I have been seeing a lot of outrage in the community and stuff, and I get it, it is scary. We have been screwed over for sure in the past, especially with Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4. And I don't want to be screwed over again. So I think this is definitely the time to be expressing our concern to the developers and the publisher. And it's a good thing to get this conversation going and really making it a big thing, making it public, showing them that we do not want to be screwed over again. Give us a fair system. Now, in response to a lot of the backlash, Joel Emsley of Infinity Ward did make a pretty big post here on Reddit. I will leave a link to that down below if you want to check out the entire post. It's a very long one. I'm going to be mainly focusing on the one section where he seems to be referring directly to the Gaming Revolution's tweets. He doesn't say it straight up, but it seems fairly obvious here. And with this, he said, there are some announcements that have come up this week that are official and some that are rumors. My ask of all of you is to focus on the information that is actually fact and not get thrown off by ill-informed people that want to make a name for themselves by spreading half-baked, inflammatory rumors. Let's work real problems together and not fairy tales of boogeymen. So maybe a little bit on the passive-aggressive side there. I definitely do understand his frustration, though, because this stuff isn't official. I'd be willing to bet at this point the microtransaction system is probably not set in stone either, especially throughout the entire life cycle. Maybe they've got it set in stone for launch, and typically with Call of Duty games, at launch, the microtransaction system is quite fair and balanced because they want to secure as many sales early on as possible. And typically it's not until like January or February, like definitely after all the Christmas sales are secured, that's typically when the microtransaction system starts to take a turn for the worse. Now with this post, he doesn't specifically confirm or deny anything. So he doesn't straight up say, I guarantee weapons will not be in loot boxes, or I guarantee we're going to have a fair system for you. He's basically just saying, don't trust all the rumors that you're seeing. And from his perspective, he's probably not allowed to say a single word about that kind of stuff anyways. So that's probably why you're not seeing any confirmation or anything like that. That's not really his place to even comment on. He is a developer. He's not one of the people making the big business decisions when it comes to these supply drops. So that post from him, while it is nice to see a little bit of the developer's perspective on things, it's also not the most reassuring post out there. But the next thing I wanted to cover is some more recent news that you might not have heard about yet. This is once again from the Gaming Revolution. He recently tweeted that Activision and Infinity Ward apparently held a big meeting regarding my recent post about supply drops. The gist of it is they've lost a ton of pre-orders with the recent news of Survival being delayed by a year on PC and Xbox, and the microtransactions news, and they're thinking about giving the player the options to earn them again. Nothing regarding microtransactions is set in stone, and like I've said countless times before, they are a constant work in progress, but my source wanted to let the community know that they really care. So with this, it seems like they are maybe backtracking a little bit on the microtransactions, assuming this is all real in the first place. Now, like I said, well, I do believe the Gaming Revolution has an inside source at Infinity Ward because he's gotten so many details about the game right before those details were announced. At the same time, I don't take everything he says as gospel, like I said at the beginning of the video. I don't know the guy personally, but I do know that someone in his position would have something to gain from drawing certain conclusions from the limited information he's getting, or perhaps stretching the truth a little bit to generate some more controversy. So is it possible he's making all this up? Sure, it definitely would be. But at the same time, it could be completely accurate. At the end of the day, though, after looking at his initial tweets and Joel Emsley's response and then these tweets afterwards, at the very least, I'm glad that this sort of stuff has really lit a fire under the community. And if you go on the Modern Warfare subreddit, for instance, it is full of people talking about the microtransaction system and the supply drops, and I think this is a good thing. So regardless of whether or not all of this is true, it's good to see that the conversation is out there, and it's a big enough deal that the developers are definitely talking about the fact that they're seeing it, and hopefully this will end up leading to us having a reasonably fair system this year. And this is where I really want to get into my thoughts on the system and what I'm hoping for this time around. And I have spoken about this before, but I think repetition is important with this kind of stuff. I want to continually express this kind of stuff. First off, like I have said in this video, the fact is, supply drops are not going anywhere in Call of Duty unless a regulator steps in. So for anybody saying supply drops need to go, Activision needs to take out supply drops from Call of Duty, I'm sorry, but that's just not going to happen. Supply drops are here to stay unless a regulator steps in, so if you really care about that kind of stuff, especially if you're in the US, the proper way to approach that is from a political perspective. You want to be talking to, I believe it's your congressman. I'm Canadian, so I don't really fully understand the system, but that's where you push for that kind of a big change, to fight against loot boxes in general in video games. Asking Activision to get rid of them does absolutely nothing. So with that in mind, knowing that loot boxes are going to be here, all we can really ask for is a fair system for the players. And to me at least, the line that I draw that determines whether a system is fair or not is any stat changed item that comes into the game that affects gameplay must have reasonable direct methods for the average player to earn them with gameplay time alone. There should be no gambling needed, and there should also be no need to spend a penny to get every single item in the game that has an impact on gameplay. And that is my hardline stance on that. Anything less than that in a full-price AAA shooter, this isn't a free-to-play game, anything less than that is unacceptable. So honestly, I don't care what they do with cosmetics. They can charge whatever they want for their cosmetic items. They can put as many of those cosmetic items in supply drops as they want. Although I would hope that there's still at least some things that you can grind for and unlock in the game, like a dark matter style camo, for instance. But when it comes to stat changed items, there must be a reasonable direct method for earning those items. I don't even care if they put those weapons in supply drops like they did with COD World War II, for instance. If you put them in supply drops while also providing reasonable direct methods for earning them, then I think that's fine as well. So you can easily earn every single one of the guns through playtime alone, but hey, you might also get lucky and get them out of those supply drops that you get through playtime. I actually personally really liked the COD World War II system overall. I didn't like so much that they were tied to specific seasons, so if you happen to buy the game late, for instance, then you kind of missed your shot at getting weapons that were added in a previous season. However, at least then they had the contract system on top of all of that, where every week it would rotate the gun, and eventually, if you're keeping up with those contracts, you would see guns from previous operations, and you'd be able to get those really easily with a small amount of armory credits in the grand scheme of things, and you didn't have to spend any money on armory credits, you just got those through playtime. So the COD World War II system, in my opinion, that would be the way to go. And I would be perfectly content if they copied and pasted the system from COD World War II. But that's just my opinion on all of this. I do encourage you guys to continue the discussion about these supply drops. Really push hard for a fair system where you can reasonably earn every single stat changed item that comes to the game. Of course though, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on this whole situation with supply drops? And also, what would you consider to be a fair system when it comes to microtransactions and post-launch weapons for Modern Warfare? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.